dreaming is a way of seeing and thinking. And generally, when we're dreaming awake, generally we don't make bad dreams. So we're seeking some kind of clarity or some kind of good with our dreams. You know, from the time we're young, we're imprinted that daydreaming is bad, dreaming is not good. You know, but they do that to us because if we're daydreaming, we're not paying attention to what they're trying to make us do, right? And so really that's why I think that they attack the whole concept of dreams or dreamers or dreaming, I mean from the industrial level, because it takes our attention away from them. The ultimate enemy to this whole way of life is those who think differently. They don't want us to think different. And thinking different is thinking for ourselves. I mean thinking, not believing, but thinking. And you know, so anything that's going to really address the reality of thinking and the relationship of thinking to power is going to be unacceptable by the industrial ruling class. They'd much rather have us fantasize and wish, because that means we're not thinking, we're not activating anything, we're just fantasizing and wishing, nothing real to it. One of the things about the bad guys is that they're convenient for us to have, because as long as we have them to blame, then we give ourselves a back door out. The voters and the people didn't take responsibility in the sense of saying to the candidates during that election, no, we want you to make coherent sense to us. We want you to explain to us sensible, reasonable things as to how you're going to fix stuff. They didn't demand it of Bush or Kerry. They didn't demand it of McCain or Obama. They just promises, see. So now they can blame these guys when these things don't come through the way they wanted to, but by the very fact that people don't take responsibility and say to the political entity, look, we want programs that make sense and we want them explained to us before we're going to vote. We're not going to vote for you. We're going to vote for the programs and the ideas that make the most sense in a practical way. I guess you would call it an identity crisis, but I think the identity crisis isn't limited to these kids. They're just manifesting their behaviors the way they're manifesting their behaviors because they're young and that's how they're doing it. But I think there's an identity crisis going on throughout the community. Some of us that are most proud to be Indian, I think, are having an identity crisis. You know, and that's why we exaggerate the proud. There's certain things. And so I think there's an identity crisis, and the identity crisis that exists amongst all of us is we don't think and recognize ourselves as human beings anymore. So we'll quarrel over who's most Indian, right? But when we have those things, that to me represents an identity crisis because we're human beings, you know, and we should be thinking in those terms. We're being programmed with the data and the information that it takes to run the machine. We're not being taught knowledgeable things, you know, and so our energy's getting tight. So they're using our energy up in this kind of a way. And the programming of data and information to run the larger machine, our energy is being used that way rather than being taught knowledgeable things that would be beneficial.
Talked about the drunken Indian. He didn't go this way, he didn't go that way, he just stayed put.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna go to like the Pied Piper. Follow
you won't let me be a human being. You won't, and I don't want to be white.
I'm gonna.
So this is what I'll do, because this is how I'll get through it, and that's really what I look at that as. And it played a role that was beneficial to us in the long run because they kept us alive and they kept an attitude alive. But it's a role that we need to find a way to phase out.